I wanted to show you another knife today, and the last knife I showed you was so pretty that you really don't want to use it for nothing. And really I spend more time cleaning that knife than I do even looking at it. Look at it for 5 minutes and get 500 fingerprints on it and spend the next 10 minutes cleaning it up. So for this knife that I want to show you now, it's the exact opposite. It's so ugly that you definitely wouldn't mind abusing it. But at the same time that it's ugly, it's old, and I thought it was definitely worth showing to you since I've showed you the M3 Special Forces knife, 1943 knife, and I've showed you the K-bar. I think I've showed you the K-bar. I've definitely showed you the M-Tech Marine Corps knife. That's really not a service issued knife. It's just a survival type knife that's been branded with the Marine Corps Eagle Globe and Anchor by M-Tech. But at any rate, this one is a real true warrior's knife, and this is the M1905, and it started its life as a bayonet, but this is a knife that most people would take off of their rifles and during the World War I, and some of them even were in use in World War II. But these began life as a bayonet, and they were 16 inches long. And this particular blade here has been taken down to, I measured it, I believe it's 7 inches. Most people took them down to 10 inches, but this one's been taken down to 7 inches. And of course you can see the bayonets would come with a circular piece of steel up here that would fit on the barrel. And of course the clamps have been removed for the locking mechanism that goes there. So they ground all that down and ground down the blade, cut off the blade and ground it down to a fine point. You can see this run out. That used to run way on out here, but that's been ground down. Blade not very good. The edge is not very good on the back side where they ground it down. But the edge is very good on this side. I keep it pretty sharp. I have a Schrade grinder that I use to sharpen my knives, and it'll take them down to where they'll shave your arm real good. But this knife is definitely a fighting knife. I wouldn't have any problem with the thickness of that blade. I'm not sure you can see it, but with the thickness of that blade I wouldn't have any problem laying this across a piece of wood and hammering on it with another log or something to drive it through and splinter stuff out. I wouldn't have any problem prying open an ammo can or whatever. But definitely this knife right here was made to stick between a guy's sternum and rip him apart with it. That's the design of this knife. The M1905 had wooden handles before 1923, so this is an oldie. Some of the newer ones, and when I say by new, that's relative because we're talking World War I and World War II. But some of the later models had 2 pins, and this has a single pin. The newer ones had more of I guess a plasticized a plastic handle or a hard handle, man-made type. But this is a wood handle here, and you can see the bayonet slot in it. Well, it's all good stuff, and nice handle back here for, I guess you could use that for pounding on something or somebody, but it would probably beat it up pretty good. But at any rate, the blade is real strong. I've used it to pry stuff out with just to see how strong it actually was, and it will definitely torque once you put some weight on it, but just by the hand you're not going to do much damage, and just prying weak stuff, it's not going to do no damage to that blade at all. Thought you'd like to see that, an old piece of history. Like I say, it's been cut down to size. Those men would take those bayonets because of a lack of good fighting knife back in those days. They would go ahead and grind that down, make a sheath for it, and then they had themselves a good fighting knife. I don't currently have a sheath for this knife. I would like to have one. I've been looking through the Army Navy stores to try to find a sheath that would fit this. The M43 is too small. The blade's too wide for it, and some of the other sheaths I think will work, but I haven't run across those, so I may make myself one out of leather. I don't know. Tear up an old combat boot and make a good knife sheath if you got a needle and thread that'll go through. But at any rate, this is not a crochet class. This is just talking about knives. Need a good sheath for this. If you can pick one up, it's a good knife for you. If you're going to be out in the woods and surviving or hunting or camping, that's a good knife to have along right there. And you can see there's a great deal of contrast between this and the case that I showed you last time. No doubt the case is a good knife, just not made for the same purpose as this one. All right, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.